During this Virtual McArt lesson, we are going to be creating this beautiful mermaid who's just gently floating under the water. Now we are going to be using a sheet of white drawing paper to capture this mermaid. I have a sketching pencil, an eraser. I'm using a few different colored pencils here. It doesn't really matter what brand you use. Now, optional at the end, if you would like to add a couple of dazzling highlights, I have a little bit of white acrylic paint that I'm on a little piece of paper. You don't need a palette for this, just a small piece of paper to dollop some paint on. And I have a very small paintbrush. If you do not have a paintbrush that small, you could also use a toothpick or even a sharpened pencil to apply the paint. Okay, let's start our beautiful mermaid. The first thing we're going to need is a head. We can't have a mermaid without a head. So I'm going to start in the middle of my page here and come down just a little bit, not too much, and I'm going to do a nice little circle shape here. Now, you want to be pressing nice and lightly on your paper. I'm going to press a little bit harder so you can see my lines. Now I'm going to bring my little circle down to a point towards the bottom for her chin. That is my mermaid's head. Take your time with the sketch. You can change it up however you like. I'm just showing you a very basic body of a mermaid. Accessorize her. She's all yours. Now from the head, I'm going to make a little bit of a neck here. A little bit of a stump on either side. Now her shoulders come down. They do not go straight across. They gently curve down away from her body. So here's one arm that's going to just start to drift out. Remember, she's floating in the water. Her arms are very gently bobbing in the water. I'm trying to capture that underwater, very gentle rocking motion on every feature, from her tail to her hair to the seaweed. Very, very gentle. So her other arm here. This one's going to be up a little bit higher because she's holding her friend, her little starfish friend. So this one's coming out to the side. So her arm, just like your arm, gets skinnier as we get down to the wrist. And then you've got the palm of her hand because it's going to have her little friend sitting on it later on. Okay, we have a head and two arms. We're making progress. So let's get a body in there next. So I'm going to come down from her armpit here, sliding down. It's going to be a little bit of an arch to show her waist there. And then I'm going to start to curve around. This is where her tail is, so I'm curving around. Now I want like a swooping S shape that's going to flick up back behind her again. You could do a basic tail that comes down with the fins at the bottom. I'm going to swoop around and then the tail goes up behind her. Play around with yours and see what style you'd like. So I'm coming down, swooping around. There we go. And I'm going to bring the other side of her body down as well. Now her tail joins on here. So I'm going to do like a little V at a slight angle to show that she's facing ever so slightly in one direction. And then again, following down and around. Tail gets skinnier towards the end, just like her arms got skinnier towards the end. And up. There we are. Now I want her fins down here. So I'm going to do a nice big fin shape going over to the left. And another one, kind of swooping in from the right there. Take your time, have some fun. Sketch lightly so you can move things around if you need to, okay? So this kind of reminds me of a leaf. It's like the shape of a leaf. So have that in mind as you are capturing the tail. A very loose leaf shape. There we are. I'm going to make her tail a little bit bigger there. If you change anything, use your eraser to take out what you don't want straight away. That way it's not going to get confusing. So we have a nice tidy looking mermaid. My goodness, she's got no face, no hair, and no clothes. Let's fix that. So first of all, my mermaid needs some kind of a hairstyle. She's under the water and I want to show her hair gently moving away from her, just rolling in the water there. So I'm going to have it sweeping off to the right. So here's the side parting here. And I'm going to have it going up over her head. You can see the top of her head here. The hair is quite high up above it. And it's going to very gently just kind of creep away like that. Chunks of hair just waving in the water. You can have yours as long and wild and curly as you want. Maybe you want pigtails. Accessorize her however you want. She is yours. And then it's going to go behind her head on this side. Like that. Gently just swooshing away from her. Wonderful. Now again, I'm going back in with my eraser. You can see her head through her hair. So I'm going to take the top of that circle shape off that was her face, the top of her head there. Isn't she looking lovely? She's really starting to come to life. Now I'm going to do a clamshell bikini, the classic mermaid bikini. You can do whatever you want for yours. So I'm going to do almost like a heart shape on each side here, with that little crinkly clamshell top, which comes down to the base of the clamshells there, with the little lines that come down. Wonderful. And then I'm going to do like a little fin that comes up and around the top of her tail there, which will stand out a little bit later on. Now my mermaid is holding her hand out and I want to do something sitting on her hand. I am going to do a starfish for my mermaid. So I'm going to do 5 little triangles that join together. You can do anything you want. Perhaps I'll give him a little face later on, like it's her friend sitting on her hand. And I'm going to do a face. She's faceless. She looks a little bit scary right now. Let's give her a face. Keep it simple. We don't want anything super duper elaborate for her. We're going to do some lots and lots of layering to bring her to life. So we don't want to go too crazy on the details on her. So I'm going to do 2 very simple little dots for the eyes. And a just gentle little roll for the mouth, a little arch there. That is all she needs, okay? Now, to create the scene a little bit more, down below my mermaid here, I'm going to drop down below to show that she is not on the ground. I'm going to draw, this is the horizon line here. This is the sand down on the ground. Now, coming up behind her, again, capturing the motion of the water, that gentle, waving, bobbing motion, I'm going to do some little bits of seaweed that are kind of creeping up around her. There's one here. Lovely way of capturing that under the water motion. There's one. Let's have one curling over here. Back down again. So coming onto the sand. Another one that comes up behind her here. Have some fun with yours. You can do whatever you like in the background. So she's swimming down low with the seaweed behind her. Maybe just one more kind of creeping up around here. There we go. I like that. My mermaid is ready for some color. Now for my mermaid, I'm going to start with her fleshy tone first. So I'm using my flesh color here. It's a very soft pinky shade, pinky peach shade. Now, first I have to figure out where my light's coming from. My eraser is my sunshine. There it is. It's pouring down, hitting the upper side of my mermaid. So all my shadows are going to be down low underneath. So what I'm going to do, underneath her arm where the light can't get to, I'm going to add a little bit of this shade here, this peachy pink shade. Nice and hard on the lower section of her arm, and as I come over her arm, I'm getting a little bit lighter. I'm taking off the pressure and getting lighter and lighter as I come up. And I'm going to do the same on this arm as well, on her right arm, well, her left arm, my right. Nice and hard down underneath, taking off the pressure as I come up, getting lighter and lighter as I drift over my mermaid's arm. And the little bit of dark down low on her hand there. Little circle motion rolling around to smooth out my strokes there. Wonderful. So the shadow is going to be on the left hand side of her body here. So again, pressing nice and hard to begin with. As I come over the mermaid's belly here, I'm taking off the pressure and getting lighter and lighter towards the opposite side, drifting back into the light section. Wonderful. Same on her neck. A little bit dark, rolling over the shoulder, taking off the pressure and blending back into the light. So all of my shadow is quite far away from my light source here. Going to be the same on her head, so it's going to be dark around the left, getting lighter as we go towards my light source here. There we go. So we're building volume, we're building shadows and highlights just by using one single pencil color. Gently taking off the pressure as I'm rolling over the face, using a small circle motion as I go. Circle motion is the best way to get a lovely smooth finish to your pencil colors. There we go. That's her fleshy tone done. So I'm done with this color. I'm going to lay that down over here. Now the next color I want to use is a nice bright yellow on her hair. So I'm going to move my light source out of the way. Now for her hair, I'm just going to go all over. I'm pressing nice and hard. My yellow is like a light bulb. That's how I see yellow. It's the color that shines through all the other colors, really making them jump off the page. All the way around, a nice base coat of yellow, super bright. Now there's a few other areas that I know are going to have a base of yellow, and that is my starfish here. So I might as well go ahead and add it, seeing as I'm using the yellow. Her little clamshell bikini, I'm going to scratch a little bit of yellow through there. There we go. Now the other place is in my background, my seaweed. I'm using the yellow. I might as well add it wherever I'm going to use it. So here we go. My seaweed, not being super neat. I'm just rolling up through the seaweed, being careful not to cut through her tail. The seaweed is behind her. She is in front. The seaweed is behind. So whenever I come to her tail, I stop and start on the other side. Got to be very careful with my layers here. I suppose you could have a piece of seaweed coming up in front of her as well. There we go. Nice base color on my seaweed there. Very scratchy, not going super neat. And one more area down on my sand. So this time I'm using the flat, the length of my pencil, not the pointy bit. And I'm going to just squish a little bit of yellow down into my sand. I'll add more colors later on, but there we go. She's coming to life just a little bit. Now, next I'm going to go in with my orange, again in the hair. She's going to have very fiery, reddy orange hair. But I started with a bright yellow base, so all of my other colors will really be illuminated. So this time I'm going to start thinking about the texture of her hair. I am coloring her hair as though I am brushing it. Imagine your pencil color here is a brush. Start at the top and work your way down. When you brush your hair, you don't start at the bottom and go up. You'd end up with quite a funky hairstyle. Start at the top and roll your brush down, following the shape of the hair. So here we go. Always starting at the top, rolling down, following the curls and the curves. This is how we're creating texture and volume. All the way down, starting on her face. There we go. Whipping it down. Each little pencil stroke represents a little piece of hair. There we go. We're not done yet. We're going to build that up even more. But her hair is really starting to come to life. That does look like a very lovely fiery color, doesn't it? There we are. And the other place I'm going to have a little bit of orange is on my starfish. So remember, our shadows are on the left-hand side. So the left-hand side of my starfish there. A little bit of shadow. Kind of blending in with the hair a little bit, but I'll do a dark outline later on that will get it to pop forward. Wonderful. Now I'm super excited to start working on the tail. So what I'm going to do is select my nice teal green to begin with. Now you can do whatever shade you want. No matter what brand of pencil colors you're using, have a scrap of paper, scribble some colors on and hold it up to your mermaid. See what that color looks like first. Choose the right color combination for you. We're all gonna have something a little different. Now, remembering where my light is, there it is. That's my sun pouring down through the ocean. My shadow is going to be down low on her tail here. And then down low here. So the light will be on top of her tail. Here and here. So I'm going to turn my mermaid to make an easier angle. And I'm rolling my pencil nice and hard along the edge of her tail. Now as I come up onto the mermaid's tail, I want it to get lighter and lighter to show that rounded surface. So here we go. I'm going to start using a circle motion as I come up over, taking off the pressure, blending back into the white paper again. It's a very quick transition. We don't have a lot of space to get from the dark to the light. So dark, heavy, taking off the pressure, blending into the light. Practice if you need to. Pencil color is just practice, practice, practice. All the way down. Lovely. I'm going to do the same on the bottom section here, so nice and hard to begin with. Taking off the pressure. I really don't have a lot of space to work with down there. And I'm going to do just a little bit of this color on the opposite side here, not pressing as hard. Just a little bit, gently blending in. Do you see how I'm leaving a nice white strip down the center of her tail? That's very, very important for creating that rounded illusion. So don't add too much color. Now with this color here, I'm going to add a nice little spray of it down through her fins here. So I'm starting with my pencil right at the base and I'm following the shape of her tail. So here we go, flicking it down. As I come down the tail, I am lifting the pencil, whipping it up. So my pencil stroke gets thinner as it goes down. Rotate your work as much as you need to make a nice angle for you. So you're not twisting your arm into awkward positions. Same again, following the shape of the tail. Beautiful. Look how quickly she's coming to life now. She is fun. Now I'm going to start at the top and do the same thing. I'm going to come down just a little bit, whipping the pencil. Same here, coming around, whipping the pencil nice and quickly. Beautiful. That is all we need right now. So I may add a little bit more of this color later on. So I'm going to put it here just in case I need it again. Now I'm going to add a little dazzle of pink down through her tail. You could do purple, you could do any shade you want. I've chosen a soft pink. So in my lighter area here, it goes from the darker tealy green over to the lighter area. In the lighter area, that's where I'm going to focus on having a little dazzle of this pink. Little circle motion. Gently pushing it through. There we go. Blending the two together. Little circle motion. It doesn't take very much at all. Lovely. And a tiny bit on the other side as well. Just a little bit. Remember, we really want to leave that dazzling white area down through the center. We're going to be building even more texture on this beautiful shimmery tail later on to make it look even more shiny. There we are. I really like that. And then the same underneath. So working on the dark area first and then gently coming across to the light area, taking off the pressure as you drift over. There we go. And then the same thing, I've got this color on the tail. I'm going to add it to the fin as well. So starting with my pencil down low again and just whipping it down, adding a nice little shimmer of this lovely pink down through her tail. Not too much. We do not want to close over that white that we have there. We're trying to create the illusion that her tail is a little bit transparent. There we go. Oh, she looks lovely. Now, I said I might pull this color back, and I do need it because I forgot about this little fin area here. So first of all, I'm going to add a very light coat. Very, very light. Then I'm going to go in a little bit harder for the outer edge. And then I'm going to do a couple little lines that come up for a little bit of texture. There we are. Lovely. Now I'm going to leave the tail alone and go back up to her hair here. So here we go. Bright red. Turning my paper slightly on its side. And I'm going to, again, motion is I'm brushing the hair, starting at the top, following each section of hair right the way down to that nice little coil at the end. And you can use this nice sharp pencil to get even more sharper curls in there, or even add a few curls that weren't already there. Following it around the opposite side as well. If you're working with a totally different color hair, just add your darkest shade right now, whatever color you've decided to do, whether it's blue or pink or green. You should be using your darkest shade to do this section. So nice and dark, really close up to her head, and getting a little bit lighter. Lines are getting a tiny bit more spaced apart as they drift away from her. There we go. Now I'm also going to jump back to my pink and add a couple little rosy cheeks on my mermaid here. So I'm doing a nice little rosy shade here on the right and the same on the left. Oh, she looks very nice. Super cute. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is leave my mermaid and do a little bit in my background. So I'm going to start with my light green. And I'm starting on, again, the left-hand side of my seaweed. This is my light source. So the light is hitting the right-hand side. The shadow is going to be on the left, just like on her tail. So I'm shooting up one side of my seaweed, nice and hard. As I come over the seaweed, I'm taking off the pressure and getting a little bit lighter, following the shape of the seaweed as I go up. There we go, curving with the seaweed, making sure I'm going behind her, not cutting through her tail. There we are, the same on each little piece. There we go. Now I'm not adding any color to the background of mine. I am using just the motion of her hair, tail, arms, and hair to show that she's under the water. You are most welcome to add some soft shades of blue and purples in the background to show that she's under the water if you would like to. There we are. Now I'm going to jump to my darker green. So using the point, nice and dark there, whipping up. And you can see how that creates just a little bit more volume and life. Just a little bit. Being very careful not to run that dark green into my mermaid. As I whip it up, get some nice sharp little curls on the ends. Wonderful. All the way up. And this little bit of shadow will be on the inside of this one. There we go. She's really coming to life. Don't you see how the seaweed just creates so much more motion behind her and shows that gentle wave motion? I've really captured that motion all the way through every feature by having a very gentle rock to all of the shapes. Now her bikini needs some color, and I'm thinking of going like a pinky red tone on there. So I'm going back with my lighter pink first, and I'm going to just add a blast of that light color over the top of my yellow. There we go. And then in with my red, again, shadow on the left. So here, a little bit of shadow. Wonderful. Now I'm about ready to start going in with my black pencil, capturing a lovely sharp fine outside edge and then chiseling in some lovely details like the scales and some nice lines going down her tail. So what I'm going to do, make sure your pencil is sharp for this and have a pencil sharpener on standby so you can stop and sharpen your pencil halfway through to make sure you're still getting those fine lines. The duller your pencil gets, the thicker your lines get, so keep it sharp. I'm going to start up on her head here and do short, sharp, wispy lines all the way around the outside edge. I'm doing each nice cluster of hair, really capturing some nice fine coils at the end. There we go. Now I can also create some shadow. So where her hair is close to her head here, it's going to be a little bit darker where it's behind her. So again, I'm just doing some short wispy lines, building up an area of shadow there. Starting on her head and whipping away. Remember, we're drawing her hair as though we are brushing it. Nice line around the face. Now let's bring that little face to life. Those tiny eyes and that little mouth. There we go. So let's go through the entire mermaid, bringing those little details forward with the black pencil. Now I'm going to start bringing that pencil up just the left-hand side of the seaweed. Not doing both sides, just the left-hand side. And that will better get the light to show on the opposite side. And create a little more depth there. So again, whipping up nice and hard. Getting a lovely fine point to the tops of my seaweed. And once I've done this, I'm going to stop and make sure that my pencil is lovely and sharp for adding some scales and details to my mermaid's tail. So I'm going to stop and have a little sharpening my pencil break. So I'm back with a really sharp pencil, and what I'm going to do is start by adding some lovely scales going down her tail. So I'm going to turn my mermaid to make an easier angle, and then starting in the dark area, I'm just going to chisel back and forth and create these little arches here. I'm not doing them all over the tail. Right now I'm just focusing a few in the dark area. Now do you see how they're pointing down the tail? They are following that really nice shape of the tail. There we go. Do a couple on the other side. You don't want to do these all over. You just want to hint at a little bit of texture as you go down. One or two of them showing up in the light area, not many, just a couple. And as you go down the tail, they are going to get smaller. The tail is getting thinner, so they are going to get smaller. And I'm turning my mermaid because they are always pointing down the tail. So I'm turning my mermaid to make an easier angle to capture those little tiny scales. Beautiful. Going right the way behind her. In the dark area you would see more. In the light area you wouldn't see many. Okay, now turning again. And I'm going back to the fin here. Now I'm going to do just a couple very thin lines going down through. There we go. Just to show a really fun bit of texture there. A little bit darker at the base. And bring her to life some more. Whipping that pencil back and forth. There we are. Oh, she looks lovely. Fantastic. Okay, the other place that needs a little bit more life is the sand down low. So I'm going to grab my orange pencil here. And again, using the flat, I'm going to just gently chisel over just a few areas. Back and forth, not being super tidy, leaving a little bit of detail behind. And then I'm going to use my black here to do a little bit of an upper edge. Create a nice bottom to some of my seaweeds. And then I'm going to do like a little bit of shadow, chiseling away, just pulling away from the base of my seaweed. Just a little bit. There we go. And then if you really want to get a little bit more texture down there, you can use the point and do just a couple little stipples in the sand as well for a little bit of fun texture there. Now my little starfish, I'm going to give him a face. That's her little friend there. So I'm going to give him a little tiny face. So two little eyes. And a little mouth as well. That's our happy little friend. Now, the last thing I want to do on my mermaid is add a darker shade of red through her hair just to bring it forward a little bit more. So with my dark red here, I'm going to work underneath. This time I am kind of going back and forth just to get a nice dark finish to it. Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Same up here. Now I'm whipping it down so you can still see all the other colors running through there. Wonderful. And on the opposite side. Gorgeous. That made a big difference. Now there's so many different colors through the hair. The yellow, the orange, the rosé red, and now the more crimson red over the top. Really bringing her hair to life. She looks fabulous. Now you can go through and add a little more color to any areas that you want to. Now her tail, I think it would look really lovely if there was a tiny glimmer of yellow through there as well. So I have my yellow pencil here And just in the lighter area, I'm just going to splash a tiny hint, not much, just a tiny glimmer of yellow. So she has almost a rainbow tail going on, but still leaving that pathway of light open. Super important. We want to leave that open. Now, your mermaid can be done just like that. She looks fabulous. But if you wanted to bring her to life just a tiny bit more with a few dazzling details, you can use a little bit of white acrylic paint. I have a small amount of paper here with a little bit of white on it. And a tiny paintbrush. You can also use a toothpick or even a sharpened pencil to apply the paint. So what I'm going to do is add a few highlights through her hair. So I'm picking up just a tiny bit of white paint here, rolling my brush on its side just a little bit. And just up high where the light is hitting, I'm going to do a nice little shine going down through. So very short, sharp little wispy strokes to show the light coming over her hair there, creating a nice glimmer. I'm going to do the same down here, so it's shining in just a couple areas. Tiny bit there as well. Staying away from the dark area. She's not going to have shiny hair down in those dark areas. And then just a tiny bit more on the opposite side of her head here. Blending it out just a tiny bit. Now, if you add too much white, you can always go back in with a little bit of pencil color over the top when it's dry to tone it down again. Now, I'm also going to add just a little bit to the top edge of her little bikini here. A bit of a highlight. And the other place I want to add a few dazzling little glimmers is down on her tail. So I'm picking up just a small amount. And I'm going to just use the tip of my brush and add just a few tiny little spots on the dark area of her tail. It will not show up in the light area. This has to be done in just the dark area. Not too much. We're just hinting at a little bit of texture. And then just a couple of very stylized dots going down the darker area of my seaweed as well. Just in one or two areas. And there we go. She is finished. So she was a super fun, whimsical little mermaid that we captured from start to finish, from a basic sketch to getting our colors on to layering details and then adding some glimmering highlights over the top if you chose to. Now, if you enjoyed this lesson, have a go at doing another mermaid. She could be doing anything. She could be swimming away. She could be doing a backflip. She could be sitting on a rock or bursting through the waves. Now, if you enjoyed this class, I would absolutely love to see your under the sea creations, your beautiful mermaids. So please share to Instagram or Facebook. You can even upload to the student portal in Virtual McArt. Remember, whatever you do, the most important thing is have fun and enjoy the process.